Chapter 39. Let's talk about race. I don't want to talk about race. I hate talking about race. I ain't racist. That's something I at least ain't. I mean, I know there's a lot of shit wrong with me. I'm an asshole, a jerk, a user, a prick. I'm completely batshit crazy. I'm also a heartbreaker, a womanizer, what you might even call misogynist even. Even though I truly, deeply love all women with all my heart and soul, but I ain't no, shut up, Michael, shut up. No one's calling you that. Oh, that's better. That's better. I was worried you might not yet. Anyways, let's talk about racism in this city now. You know, that's one reason why I love living in New York. It's all a mixing pot, and you really only get racial shit going down when the pigs step in. But then Michael realized how untrue that was. I mean, there's still tons of racism here, but the city's a mixing pot. We're all miserably living on by in this festering cesspool like one giant unhappy dysfunctional family like the Bundys. We all hate each other, but at least it's not because I'm white, he's black, she's Hispanic, and that guy over there is an Asian. Michael shook his head as he continued to realize how much he was bullshitting himself still. Fine, that does happen a lot, but still, we've at least accepted each other. Well, not completely, but we can at least tolerate one another, sometimes. I'm pretty sure anywhere else in America might be a different story, would it? Actually, I don't like thinking or talking about this shit, even though I do have to deal with it all the time. I mean, racial shit, I might be white, but that doesn't mean my strongest feelings will be directed to non-whites. I mean, did you know there's whites being racist with other whites in a way? Well, for instance, Italians. If there's any group I don't like, it's them. But not to be racist, they just scare me the most. So if there's any group I might personally have a thing against, it's them. With them, I just get edgy. When I get the feel the asshole might be linked to the mob or something, and they're going to try and use it against me. But that also just means I really just hate the mob and not all Italians. As for other groups like Hispanics, I don't know. They can be cocky and get all hot-blooded, in your face with me sometimes, but fuck, I get that a lot from everyone all around. So it hasn't exactly got me to separate them in my mind from the rest of the lot as being some numero uno arch villains of mine that I've major beef with or something. Fuck. I love me their women though. I'd love to be eating out some Puerto Rican babe right about now instead of riding around in this cold-ass weather. Would rather be if I was in something warm. But yeah, fucking love doing to them like that as they started calling me papi. With Puerto Rican babes that are Cuban babes, Mexicans, Salvadorians, or Spaniards. Wait, what Latin woman have I not been with? Want to hear something funny though? I can always tell exactly what country they're from the taste and texture. With one chick, I even impressed myself when guessing she was a Colombiana from Cartagena and got it right. That's right, even got the city down. Really impressed her too. Anyways, Asians, they're sort of quiet and I don't know, I haven't met one that knows kung fu that could kick my ass or something. Although I've never been attracted to Asian women either. Why is that? Other white boys and girls like me, well, here's my personal feelings about being white in America today. Even though it feels like there's thousands of separate groups of us, Russians, Polacks, Albanians, etc., and us all unable to get along with each other, even though there really is only two that ever comes to mind. Lily whites and the other sort, my sort. Now with lily whites, they're the ones that have pretty much gotten their acts together. They're the ones that are middle class and up, well-to-do. What all other races think of when they imagine whites and forget about the rest. Lily whites are also people that have gotten soft, weak, and scared people that, since the 50s, have been moving out of the inner cities and into the country, into suburbs. Reminds me of I Love Lucy for some reason. Half the show was set in New York City and the other half practically moved to Connecticut somewhere and got lame. But yeah, I guess that show was a sign of the times, of how most white people were feeling. Although funny how they let a Hispanic, Ricky Ricardo, into those communities. But yeah, it was all about lily whites moving out and into giant gated communities, segregating themselves from the foreign lot. Lily whites are just frail people with frail wills and minds, but since they're so cooperative and productive amongst themselves, they can build things, own things, and in the end, control things. Those are what lily whites are and what they're made of, sugar and spice and everything nice and shit. Funny though how they're now trying to move back in and gentrify shit. I mean, we've been getting a shitload of them. They're yuppie variations moving back into Manhattan and changing shit up. Maybe they should do a I Love Lucy spinoff and have Ricky Jr. as a yuppie moving back into the old apartment having to deal with how much has changed. That would be... Nah, I still wouldn't watch it. But anyways, as for the other sort, unlike the lilies, the ones that ain't so nice and are made of snips and snails and puppy dog tails, the ones you think are still fresh off the boats, even though Irishmen and Italians and Germans and Russians and Hungarians and so-and-sos have been done getting off the ships for over 100 years now. Well, the thing about them is, well, let's first start off calling them for what they are mostly being called today. White trash. And really, I say they're the most despised group in all America. If you were to come to think about it, I mean, check this out. With blacks, most people are mostly scared of them, especially the lily whites, but they're not that much despised as they are felt sorry for and feared. Blacks and Hispanics also might get the most shit since everyone is scared of them the most, but they're not the most despised group. White trash are the most despised group. Society fucking hates our kind so much, they like to call us straight up trash, and mostly lily whites are the ones doing the most hating, since we remind them of how they used to be before they got their acts together and went all village people. And since we're white like them, they don't feel guilty about expressing that hatred either. Michael now needed a moment after contemplating over that matter. As for dealing with blacks, I end up dealing with extremes. I'm usually the coolest around them, never been really scared of them like the rest of the lily white America really is, although they are some cocky fuckers, but then again, so am I. Funny how whenever I start talking about pussy, they get really excited and want to be all buddy-buddy with me, seeing as how much of a sex fiend as I am, which most of them are themselves. And I remember the best conversations I had about chasing tail had always been with Dollboy, fucking cock-blocking jerk. Can be really bitching cool with blacks, but then when I get into fights with them, it always turns into a race war, whether I wanted to or not. I remember trying to pick up some black chick in Queens a couple weeks ago and had 4 black guys approach me telling me to fuck off and stick to my own kind. The main dude was some ex-boyfriend that was stalking that chick at that bar. Well, that's what she told me later that night. Of course, once I blew him off, that's when shit went down. And the thing is, every time I get into a fight with a black guy, they always say something about me being a white boy as they look me up and down and laugh like they're thinking, ha ha, I'm black, you're white, Mike Tyson is the champ, so that means I could kick your ass. But then when I beat the fuck out of him and his 3 black friends, all of a sudden, I was now the bad guy, looking up at me like a bunch of Kunta Kintes, and I'm supposed to be some white plantation owner that's whipping them and calling them Toby, stealing their women. Fucking bullshit. Oh, I hate dealing with racial matters. I mean, that black girl was so bad. Damn, she had an ass on her. And every time she'd watch, her ass started firing off like pistons on a chopper. Fuck you and yours, stick to your own kind, as if every black guy I've ever met doesn't try to hit on white chicks. And fuck you and your Mike Tyson shit too. You ain't him. So don't start thinking the color of your skin is going to give you superpowers, since a lot of athletes are blacks. I mean, based on that logic, that's like saying if being white is going to give you higher intelligence, since you never see black people being scientists or inventing shit or working for NASA. So is that to say all blacks are a bunch of dumb apes? Ha! You don't like the sound of that, do you? Then don't be thinking stupid racist shit like having magical ass-kicking powers because you're black, okay? I mean, that's just the Asians, since they all know Kung Fu. What? Michael then rolled his eyes and chuckled. It's really just a cultural thing. It's what society has allowed them to excel at. Sports and entertainment. If it was the other way around, it would be the other way around. Stupid shit. Not saying the world hasn't taken the biggest shit on them, but because I've seen how it has, truthfully, All hands down, the only reason there still hasn't been a great white hope isn't because of physical differences. It's because of righteousness. Yeah, righteousness. Boxing is the ultimate sport when it comes to two men bringing all their pain and suffering they've experienced in their lives and proving it to themselves and the rest of the world in the ring, trying to see if it's been enough to make them the better man. Black people, the title is rightfully theirs because they fought and suffered enough to where they now are the ones that righteously deserve it. And until there's a white man that's fought and suffered enough, there won't be any great white hope because proving superiority isn't what it's all about. Michael then had a pause, but then thought, but still, they're really racist too in a way. What the fuck do I have to do with slavery? And the shit that went down in this country back in the day. If it's a shame that's supposed to be inherited, well, okay, check this shit out. Both my family lines weren't even here when slavery was going on. My dad and his family moved from Ireland in the 30s, and they lived like train-hopping hobos during the Great Depression. And even though my mom was born here, her parents met in Germany back in the 30s also, and moved here to escape the craziness going on in that country at the time. So, I'm exempt from all that guilt and shame I see going on. If I want, I can fuck as many black chicks as I wanna and beat up as many black dudes as I wanna, as I damn well please. And from what I've seen, those chicks love my white dick. Fucking love it. And in comparison with size, an issue has not been brought up, not once. And the only thing that has been brought up when dealing with my real truth to the blue great white hope has been, sucky now. So there. Fuck, I hate racial shit. Everyone is so sensitive now, and there's so much red tape and boundaries being set up all around that I no longer know what to think anymore, and they're just boundaries too. And the only time I really do think about race is when I'm thinking, wow, I love fucking Hispanic chicks. It's like they're dancing on my cock. Yeah, it is getting pretty caliente up in here, isn't it? Wow, the big lips black girls got really does take fellatio to a newer level. Okay, scrawny white girl, this should be really, really easy. I don't have to talk to her into doing any kinky shit like I have to do with Hispanics and black chicks. She'll just do it. Wait, she's Jewish? Fuck. Just lie to her about your occupation and wait, why am I even hitting on her? Except for one, every Jewish girl I've met has been mean, self-centered, humorless, spoiled, and really horrible at sex. Also too hairy for my taste. Only that one feisty Aviv girl that was a gung-ho Israeli commando with a buzz cut looking like a bitchin' Sinead O'Connor was totally badass. Damn, she had tone, with zero fat except for a humongous pointy tits that stuck out like she was holding up a pair of AK-47s under each arm, aimed and ready. Almost broke my back trying to give it to her as she kept moaning harder. Man, I felt good when she began pulling it with her teeth, while tonguing the tip to see how far she could stretch it. I think we got 4 more inches before it felt like it was going to tear right off. Man, that felt good. Then she began, before moving around and, damn, woman had me moaning and groaning like Nikki used to. I think I was in love for the second time in my life. Yeah, sorry, not Aviv Jewish chick. Sorry, princess, maybe if you were from Israel, I'd have interest in you still, but right now I see a Hispanic chick sitting at the other end of the bar that really deserves my attention. So see you later, Tootsie. I love fucking Middle Eastern chicks. The sex varies, but just the thought I might be pissing off some Middle Eastern dude that would have had this woman all covered up makes my day. Now the only thing covering her is my joy juice. Italian girl, okay, better get an umbrella and wage out the storm before she eventually gets horny and finally decides to fuck me. Actually, Hispanic girls are like that too, and black girls. It's just other white girls that aren't. Why is that? I've never fucked an Asian girl before. I need to change that, no matter if they don't really attract me much. Gotta do it just to see if I'd like to touch. Definitely should start with Japanese chicks, though. I think I like them the most, seeing how lively and animated they are with their peace symbols, all smiling so lovely for cameras, so cute. And unlike every other Oriental language, which most sound like a cat with the whooping cough being swung around by its tail, Japanese sounds like sweet music to my ears, so I like to hear them moan it out for me while I'm turning Japanese on them. Fuck. Now I gotta get me some Japanese chicks later. So yeah, let all the dickless douchebags, no matter their race, have their race wars while I fuck all their women. And really, when it comes to racism, it's only men that wage that shit. But let them. And when they're all done and come looking and take me on next, I'll then prove just how much of a fighter I am as I am a lover, as I gather them all up and break them over my knee like a bunch of twigs, then go back to fucking all their women again, but this time let them watch as they lay there all bloodied up and twitching on the floor, have all their women moaning and groaning while I show their men how it's done. Rompus pompous.